Greetings, petrolheads! Welcome back to Automation, the car company. Take-home game. Sorry for that. If you could hear that, if you could hear me moving my microphone there. But this is the last chance for you, Donovan, and you, Cineco, to send me the car files that you didn't send me in your respective emails for this, well, community challenge. So maybe, like, if you both send your entries, we would have at least 3 cars to choose from. So maybe it's some sort of a challenge after all, although not really. But this is the one valid entry I have so far, and that is Sedan 57 Chevy's entry. He was also the one who suggested this challenge in the first place. It is called the LTS Luxury Touring Sedan 450. 450 relates to 4.5 liters of capacity. They are also working on a more affordable 4-liter version, which would be called the 400. And yeah, so this uses the same body that my larger reference car used, the sort of M5 competitor. And let's see what it's made of. It has a corrosion resistant steel monocoque. So it's a monocoque and corrosion resistant so that it won't rust. And then we got double wishbones up front, multi-link on the rear, partial alloy panels. I guess they're, yeah, they are not limited production like full aluminum or fiberglass. Looks wise, I mean, if you would take off the hood scoop, this would be a perfect, like, sleeper. But as it is, and with the quad exhaust, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because, like, really, if you look at this car from the front end, and you know, maybe you might not even notice the hood scoop, then it looks like a perfectly fine ordinary like smooth and sort of slow looking sedan. But nobody would expect that this car actually has some power under the bonnet. It is rear-wheel drive, has a 4.5 liter flat plane V8, 5 valves per cylinder, aluminum block and head, making 374 horsepower. It's got multi-point EFI with throttle per cylinder configuration, pretty moderately aggressive cam profile, and it's got 2 reverse flow mufflers. So the reverse flow mufflers, they make the car quieter, which is good for comfort, not so good for sportiness. So we'll see how that pays out in the end. It's got a 5-speed gearbox. It's got a viscous LSD. Also, I forgot to mention, this is in 1996, so this is 5 years before my larger reference car. So actually in 1996 the E39 M5 wasn't out yet, so I guess this would still be going up against the E34 M5. Well, yeah, it would. Sports tires, 245s front, 265s rear, 16-inch rims, giving us a lot of tire profile, which will make for a smoother ride. Vented discs up front and on the rear as well. No brake fade, obviously. Then fully clad under tray, no cooling flaps, no, well, wing angle doesn't matter because we have no wings. Cooling airflow is just enough by design in order to satisfy the engine's need. This is something that actually, let me talk about this cooling airflow thing for a second. The more cooling fixtures you add to a car, the more it'll increase its base drag. Obviously, when you lower the cooling airflow, drag will go down. However, the fixtures, like basically if you had this cooling airflow 308 kilojoules per second, but with a lot more vents and stuff, then the drag would be higher than it is with just this grill and the hood scoop. That's just the way that the game calculates drag, and I think that's somewhat realistic as well, because consider that more vents means like more holes in the body, more like more things to get in the way of the natural airflow around the car or across the car, and therefore having less of those fixtures will make for a better drag. However, if you have a lot of power, it'll also be insufficient cooling. So there is that. We got 5 seats in this car: premium interior, premium CD entertainment, advanced safety, and all driver assists. So advanced safety is the interesting one here. We'll see about this later. Active comfort springs, semi-active dampers, and then a very balanced setup here with 0.9 sportiness and 0.9 drivability, which seems like the perfect mix, the best of both worlds. Personally, I'm not sure if this is actually the ideal setup to go for, because you should see this as like well, 0.9 in sportiness and 0.9 in drivability, those are basically the multiplying factors that'll make up your final drivability and sportiness score. So you should decide like which way you want to take this car, and I think it's better to have like 0.94 in sportiness or something, and then 0.88 in drivability, because you gain more sportiness than what you lose in drivability. And I think that, long story short, 0.9 in both is actually not the best, but maybe possibly the worst of both worlds. But we'll see about that. First of all, let's see the final stats: 43.7 drivability, 39 sportiness, 38.4 comfort, 31 prestige, 52.2 safety. Interesting how the highest stat is safety on a family sports sedan, but then again, it is a large sedan, and it's made from steel, and it weighs 1600 kilograms admittedly, so it's not, and has advanced safety of course, so it's not a surprise that this is up to 52. However, with a car like this, you would like to see either drivability or sportiness higher, or at least somewhere around that value, I think, because nobody is going to buy a family sports sedan for its excellent safety, right? Numbers: 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 5.9 seconds, which is actually pretty much on par with the E34 M5. It may be faster on paper, this car, but yeah. The E34 was also faster than it was on paper. So the quarter mile takes 14.1 seconds, which is quick, but somehow I got a feeling that the long gearing is really holding this car back a little bit. Even though, yeah, oh, sorry for that. So basically, fifth gear is purely overdrive, which is an interesting strategy with, like, when you only have five ratios to begin with. I would probably like it if this car had 6 speeds, and the last one would be overdrive, just so you could have 5 speeds for acceleration, so that it would accelerate like a 5-speed box up until its top speed, and then you would have a sixth gear from there. This way you only have 4 gears to accelerate, and as a result, because this car is pretty fast, the result is that you have very long gears in first, second, third, and fourth. Now let's see what this does around the automation track. $221.46, so that's actually not far off from the or it's actually pretty much exactly the same as the 1996 smaller reference car that I built. However, I don't have a larger one for this year, so that's pretty much gonna be what we have to somewhat compare this to performance wise. And yeah, doesn't do that badly, honestly, but obviously with this much weight and the long gearing, those two things are pretty much holding it, are very much holding it back as far as performance goes. Relatively speaking, of course. I mean, 5.9 seconds is still a quick car. I'm just saying. So you're probably going to be thinking, compared to my reference car, which by the way was 2001, so keep that in mind. Compared to that, it has lower drivability, lower sportiness, higher comfort, I think higher prestige and higher safety, and it weighs a bit over 100 kilograms more. So, and it has worse acceleration and top speed. So you're probably going to be thinking, all right, this car is not going to be as good in the market as my reference car, right? Wrong. This thing does very, very well in the family sport premium category because it's just a well-balanced car. I went pretty much and built a sporty sedan, but this car has a lot more comfort and prestige, which also matter in this category. It also has quite a bit more safety because I went for standard safety in order to save weight. So there is that. It does really well in the family sport premium category. It is also quite a bit cheaper than my reference car because that has I think full aluminum panels. Aluminum, or yeah, it must be aluminum. And it also has an electric diff, which isn't even available yet in 1996, and that also costs a bunch of money. This only has a viscous LSD. How fast would this go with an automatic locker? 5.6, okay. Right, so I think there's not much more to say. This is the only entry so far, and it's a good one. Like, honestly, from these stats alone, you would never tell that this is actually so good in family sport premium, so that it does really well in this category, and that's pretty much what this challenge is about. Still, like, how realistic do I think this car would be to build? Absolutely. Like, I don't see anything that's really that out of the norm for a mid to late 90s big sports sedan. Maybe the 5-valve per cylinder setup is a little bit debatable, but if there was any time to make such an engine, it was the 90s. And again, this isn't a cheap car. It doesn't have to use like a GM pushrod engine or anything like that to keep it cheaper. I mean, it is cheap here on the markets, but keep in mind this is the base price before factories, employees, and with 0% markup. So this price is nowhere near what this car would actually sell for. Right. and that was obviously also the case for my reference cars. They also didn't have factories, employees, and markup. So, well, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Automation. Leave a like or a comment if you did. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.